Hi, I'm Sarah and welcome to my channel. First of all, I apologise, my face is very red today. It's because I've been running around crazy this morning. So yeah, I'm a little bit red and flustered, so please bear with me. Today's video is basically all to do with anxiety. As you may know, that I'm a part of Channel Mum, and their aim for this month is anxiety and coping with anxiety. And their basically motto is that you are not alone. And we got asked to, obviously if we have anxiety, to share it. So I wanted to talk through obviously what it's like for me. You may know that obviously I've done a video about it, that I went through depression when I was younger, and a lot of the times anxiety and depression can be a bit high. Anxiety and depression can pair up with each other, and I definitely agree with that. But at the minute I don't go through a lot of the depression anymore. It's mainly the anxiety of certain situations. I work on Facebook, so I have a lot of like an audience on there, and a lot of people that know a lot of things about me that I make personal, obviously not just through YouTube but through Facebook. And sometimes I feel I may come across a little bit differently to the way I would like, and that's partly to do with my anxiety. My biggest part of anxiety is social. I struggle very much with social. You wouldn't probably think it, I'm talking to a camera, but because I'm sat here in a room by myself talking to the camera, I feel I can open up. But if I sit in a room full of people, even people I know or don't know, I struggle speaking. I struggle saying anything. So on the occasion, if I've run into somebody either on Facebook or on here that knows me, I might come across a bit ignorant just because I have that social anxiety. So someone might come, "Hi Sarah, how are you?" I'm like, "I'm good, thank you," and then I might like just carry on with my day. But that's just because, yeah, I'm not very good socially with people. If I've got my kids with me, it does make it a bit easier because it gives me a reason or something to focus on. So if I am out by myself, then I struggle. So I usually take a kid with me, even though sometimes it makes it loads worse, as in dealing with a child out in public as well. But it's better than being by myself and expecting the worst. I went through anxiety a lot when I was younger. It was probably when I left my job of 7 years. When I got pregnant with my daughter, I got written off because I had a hemorrhage at 5 weeks. Basically, as soon as I found out I was pregnant, I was written off work, and I was written off the entire pregnancy. And because obviously pay didn't really work out very well that way, obviously I was on a lot of sick pay, and then my maternity pay didn't pay a lot because my sick pay, it went from my sick pay to maternity pay rather than based on my average pay, work pay. So I left work. My job was it was like customer service based. I was sales, so it's very customer service based and speaking to people. And even my manager used to say if I had a week or 2 weeks off work, it'd take me a very long time to get back into it because I'd really struggle talking to other people and having that, being comfortable. And it could take just something very small happening to flick a switch and then I have a major panic attack. I mean, even something like I made a minor mistake, I spelled the name wrong on something, so I had to go back into the system and change it. I'd freak out, I'd have a panic attack. Or if someone fainted like around me, I'd have a massive panic attack. So social anxiety was the biggest thing then. But when I left work and I didn't get forced into that like social reaction, like dealing with other people and speaking to them, that's when I found it a lot worse, because if I didn't want to socialise, I didn't make myself. So I'd basically stay in the house. I wouldn't speak to anybody. Now and again, obviously I would speak to some people like my family, and because when my son did start going to nursery, I obviously had to communicate with them, but I wouldn't communicate with anyone in nursery, so all the other parents and the children I wouldn't talk to. And And pretty much the same now with that. So yeah, I find it really hard then, and it got to a point where my anxiety, my brain would just go off and think of random stuff. So if I wanted to go to the shop, say I needed to get some gas and electric, because that's what it's like in my old house, like to top it up, I'd have to go to the shop. If there was a group of people stood there, I'd either walk a different way or just go home. I could not deal with going with groups of people in an environment, because my mum would be, I'd walk up, they'd either beat me up, rape me, or do something that I didn't want to do, and I just removed myself from the situation, which obviously made things a lot worse as well. Or it'd be silly enough as I'd kind of put that on my children, which I absolutely hated. When we'd go to parks, obviously I'd take them when everyone else is at school, so it would be quieter, but then when other children started coming and other parents started coming, I'd leave, and that wasn't good for my child, because my anxiety was then pushed on him, and I didn't want him to feel anxiety when other children would come around him. So then I started a play group with him, and then I couldn't deal with that either, because it was just the same, other parents and other children, and I couldn't deal with that being surrounded by people that I just couldn't cope with. So that's when I decided to start him obviously in nursery, and then he was able to do things like a normal child could do without my anxiety getting in the way. But it could be something like a child falling in front of me. I wouldn't know what to do. Obviously, your common sense would be to ask them if they're okay, but I would just have a panic attack. And it used to really, really hurt me to think that if there was a person in need, like literally a person that was having a heart attack or fell off something or anything, I wouldn't be able to go up to them and speak to them and say, are you okay? I had to literally walk away, and then I'd spend all day freaking out thinking I could have helped that person, I'm a horrible person for leaving that person like that, but I couldn't deal with it. I'd like feel faint and dizzy and sweaty and have a massive panic attack, but then I'd have a massive panic attack when I get home thinking obviously I've done wrong. And that was really hard. I mean, now I try and change that. I try and do speak to some people that I'm hoping I can help. I think that's why it's, like I said, it's so easy for me to sit in front of a camera and do it, because I feel like I'm talking to myself, but I'm not. I'm talking to other people. So for me, this is kind of like a great outlet to speak and get my understanding out there and the way I am and the way I act, when other people may not understand it as much. Now I still do, but it's not as drastic as what it used to be. When I go to school and pick my kids up, I'm the same. I do not talk to anybody. I will talk to their teachers, but I will not talk to the parents unless they talk to me. If the parent comes to me and asks me something, it sounds very harsh and horrible, but I might just say one word things, and it's not because I'm a nasty person or I kind of want to come across like that. It's just, I panic. When people talk to me, I panic, and my brain is thinking of things to say, and it just comes out with just the first thing that pops to my head. So like I said, one word answers or something, and yeah, it's very hard for me to talk to others, especially approaching them. I wouldn't be able to do. I mean, my business now is sales and customer service as well, but because I can do it behind a phone, I have got comfortable. But when it comes to face, I can still struggle with. So like in school and things, obviously I've got a lot of people from my son and my daughter's school on Facebook, so I do get like chatting to some of them, and I could talk to them completely fine on Facebook, but then if they come like towards me at school, I have a massive panic attack and freak out. But it depends whenabouts it is. Like I said, when I'm by myself, so when I used to pick both of the kids up at school at the same time, that used to be my like worst time, because I had no kids with me and I had no distraction. But now I've usually got a kid with me all the time, besides the morning, and that's like dropping them off, go home. So that's easier. But then I go pick, and then it's when I pick Ava up and I've got no kids with me again, that's when I'm a bit like, you'll see a big group of people talking and then just me behind, just there by myself, just not interacting. And like I said, that's part of the anxiety of it. It's me like talking and dealing with other people. And I think my other biggest one is, I didn't realise it bothered me as much, was conflict. I really struggle with conflict. When my husband was going away for the weekend and all of us decided to, it was me, my daughter and my husband, just before I picked my son up from school, we decided to go into town because he wanted his hair cutted before he went. And we walked into town and there was a group of lads shouting at each other, and I kind of just got closer to my husband and my daughter. It's not a massive... It is sometimes a fear for them, but it's a fear for myself as well. I always think the worst. I think that people sometimes, my brain kind of like goes off on these crazy stories that may not make sense, but that's what I think that's gonna happen. So if I was by myself, I would have literally gone back. I would have not gone into town, because literally just on the path into town there was these people shouting at each other, and I feel myself going shaky, going red, going flustered and panicking, and it's not a nice feeling, and it's a hard one to shift, I think. And yeah, it's hard when, I mean, a lot of people don't understand certain anxieties and things like that, and because there's loads of different anxieties about things. You could just be an over worrier, and obviously anxiety is about that, but mine was just, my brain would have a mind of its own, weird way of putting it, but have a mind of its own and come up with these crazy stories that then I'd work myself up about. And yeah, it's kind of like the same when you're in the house by yourself. So you're kind of like, you're in the house by yourself, you know that time you're by yourself someone's going to come in and rob you, but obviously they don't, but that's what happens because you think about what the worst can happen when you're by yourself. So I did go through that at one point, being by myself, when I lived with my mum, when my mum would be out at night. Nighttime was the worst. At night I used to make sure that I'd be awake, or I'd fall asleep on the sofa, not in my bedroom. I don't know why. It's very difficult for me to open up to people I don't know, and I think that's part of the anxiety as well. So I have to get explained a lot. People, yeah, my sister-in-law does a lot of explaining to other people by the way I am, just because obviously autism could be a possibility, but I have the anxiety as well. So yeah, I could happily speak to one person, especially a person that is like a professional person, so like counselling, a doctor or something in that area. I could happily go and speak to those and be a bit more open. Yes, I might have the anxiety things, so like I might sit there twiddling my thumbs or fiddling or shaking my legs or doing something to deal with the anxiety, but I am talking, I am opening up, because with a professional I think I find the trust is a little bit easier. But then you put me in a group of people and I'll just sit there and listen, and at the back of my mind I'll keep on thinking, say this, but it just doesn't come out my mouth. And then when I do get kind of like, not picked on, but pointed out to say something, that's when I then have a panic attack in my head. So that's when I feel hot flustered and my words come out all gobbledygook, or I'm stuttering quite a bit. And when I went to see my counsellor, my biggest, I kind of realised this yesterday when I was watching a film. I realised my biggest fear was fear. Fear itself. I mean, there is a saying of fear itself is something. There's a saying on a film, I can't remember what it is. But basically I used to have dreams where I was in this like hotel and there'd be a fire and I'd try and run away, but every time I get up to run I fall over and I just freeze. Do you know, like you see in films where they like just freeze and have a panic attack? That's what I fear that had happened to me. And even though I know probably in real life my like obviously motherhood kind of kicks in, like running after my kids type thing, that was my fear. And the biggest thing that I always had anxiety over was like, not say the biggest thing because it depends on the situation, but I have a fear of natural disasters because I have a thing about control, and I think that's where my anxiety comes in. I don't get anxiety from me as much. It's things that I can't control. So when I am looked at by everybody in the room to talk, because I feel I can't always control what I say or the way I say it, because I can get quite shy and I can stutter my words, and yeah, and it's the same because I'm dyslexic. When I used to get told to read in class, I could read the same line twice, and that was like embarrassing, and I used to hate it. And yeah, so I think I have the biggest anxiety as well over control. So I think it's certain situations that I cannot control. Like, I don't get anxious of my kids like doing something all the time. My anxiety is like, don't go near the road in case a car runs over you. Even though my kids do have a bit of a thing, they don't understand danger very well, so they don't always stop for that. But natural disasters as well, so like if it's thunder and lightning, my anxiety used to be insane. Literally, I used to go around the house closing all the doors, closing all the windows in case we got like lightning come in the house, which doesn't happen very often, but my grandma got it down the chimney once, and I think that story scared me. So natural disasters, like at the minute I would not like to live in America with all the like earthquakes and tornadoes and tsunamis wherever they go off. And I don't know, it's not really America they go off, but natural disasters, the things I cannot control. And that's why I think I have anxiety when it goes to groups of people, because I can't control or predict what that group of people are going to do. And I mean, in my mind I feel like I'm predicting what will happen, which will either be the worst thing ever, would like be I get beaten up, I'd get raped, I'd get chased, I'd get laughed at, all that type of thing. And I think it's the same as well when you're in public. If it's just me by myself and then there's two people in front of me and they'll start laughing, I'm thinking, they're laughing about me. And then I'll like start to question, I'm like, have I got something stuck on me? Like I sit in a big puddle of chocolate and got chocolate all on my bum, or just, you know, that. And now I'm trying to get comfortable with it. I mean, if you've been a part of my channel for a bit, you'd probably have noticed that I do wear a lot of black, but recently I've been trying to get out of my comfort zone and wear a lot of pinks. I really like pinks at the minute. And the reason that I used to wear black is because of I didn't want to stand out. I didn't want to be noticed, because then if I was noticed, then people either would talk to me or like, yeah, I don't like being noticed or being looked at and then think I'm being judged. And that's the biggest part of my mind. My mind goes crazy thinking of what other people are thinking when they're not actually thinking it. So yes, I hope you enjoyed this extra long, crazy talking video. But yes, know that you're not alone, and if any of you want to drop me a comment as well about if you go through it yourself, or if you just want to share your anxiety, or if you've got anxiety similar to mine, please comment down below. And it's nice, not just obviously me speaking, but then if you guys comment on how your anxiety, if you have anxiety, how you deal with it, or how you're not dealing with it, or how it affects your day-to-day life, then people that can watch this then can go in the comments and then see other people commenting that go through a similar thing or go through the anxiety themselves. And the more we share about things, the less we feel alone and realise that other people are just like us, and if we can do it, you can do it. And yeah, so that would be a big help as well if you can share your story. Yeah, but like I said, if you've got any questions or anything, please comment them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But I hope you have an amazing rest of the day, and I will see you all soon. Bye.